Hello and welcome to the Spiritual Uprising podcast. I'm your host, Amanda Campbell, and this is episode 2, where we're talking about relying on our intuition when we're unhappy or depressed. I truly believe our intuition is directly linked to our overall happiness, and I also think that there's this serious lack of happiness in the world. For years, I've been trying to find the link between intuition and happiness, to find some type of science or proof behind it, which is kind of funny because I really couldn't care less about science or proof. I'm the type of person who goes by experiences and feelings. There's a lot of people out there who also say there's no such thing in life after death or reincarnation, but facilitating others through past life regression and experiencing my own past lives and communicating with dead people, well, it's proven to me that my experiences are true, regardless of whether or not someone else believes in them. I've suffered from depression in my life. I think we all go through our little waves, and I'm no exception. There have been 2 separate occasions where I've fallen pretty deep. The first time was shortly after I got married, and the second time was actually this summer. The first time around, I had no clue as to what was happening. I didn't know why I was so miserable. I didn't know why I couldn't get out of bed. I just didn't know why everything had to be so hard. Second time around, I was in denial. I had so much to be grateful for. How could I be depressed? But the second time, I took a different approach because I learned so much since the first time around. The second time, I dove deep. I'd already had a regular morning routine of journaling and pulling cards. This wave of depression forced me to go even deeper, to approach and work on healing my shadow self, to talk to my inner child, my inner witch, to work with my ego, to assess my fears, and to really assess what was and wasn't working for me. And even though I was isolated, I didn't really feel alone because I was constantly talking to my angels and guides, even if they were telling me things that I didn't want to hear. Now, I realize that there's a difference or I guess I should say there's different levels, maybe that's the right word, of depression. Sometimes it's a chemical imbalance, sometimes it's seasonal. I get that. But sometimes it's a sign that a chapter is closing. I learned this time around that when I fell into my depression, that it's a sign that there's a major life change coming my way. And this is my time to rest and prepare myself, to know what it is that I want, what I'll stand for, what I'm ready to let go of. Because with all that weight, it's bound to affect us somehow. The first time around, I was a few months away from being laid off and going back to school. 2 things I was in no way, shape, or form prepared for. Not mentally, emotionally, and especially not financially. This time around, I don't want to say too much just yet, but I'm pretty sure I'm very close to quitting my job and being a full-time entrepreneur. And don't get me wrong, it's so exciting. But there's also a lot of work to be done around that. There's saving in case my first few months are slower than expected. There's mindset work that needs to be solid so I don't spiral into the black hole of, I can't do this, what was I thinking? There's a whole lot of fear around not having the security we've been programmed to depend on. You know, that get a full-time job with pension and benefits so you can retire. Go to work every day, have 2 weeks of vacation. Make sure you ask for permission. Someone else needs to grant you permission to go on vacation. Pay your bills. Do it all again tomorrow. Somehow that's something we've been programmed to depend on. And I don't know about you, but I've gotten really tired of that mindset. There's also a whole lot of trust that needs to happen, which is something I'm not always very good at. Trusting that everything is going to work out, trusting that I'm doing the right thing. So even though, well, I guess it's never convenient to be depressed, but even though this round of depression wasn't convenient at all. It was definitely required. It was a time for me to go inwards to see what was going on with myself, what I needed to let go of. And there was, especially in October and parts of November, I think the first 3 weeks of November, there's a whole lot going on in the sky. A whole lot astrologically. Oh my God, I can't even say the word. And I'm not going to break it down because I'm definitely not a professional in any way, shape, or form when it comes to astrology. But from what I gather, between Mercury retrograde and I think it was the full moon in the end of September, I don't even remember. But there was a whole lot of releasing happening. A lot of blockages, a lot of habits, a lot of people that needed to be released. So from the end of September into October and even beginning of November right now, I'm still transitioning. I'm still letting go. I'm still trying to trust that I'm letting go of the right things, even though I feel in my gut that it is absolutely time to release it. Before I recorded this episode, I Googled the link between intuition and depression, just in case something new had been posted recently. And there wasn't. At least nothing that I had the brain power to try and pick apart. I did notice in some message boards, I guess, that I don't really read. But I went into one of the message boards and I noticed that people with a science background, social workers, nurses, therapists, they all said that there is absolutely no connection between depression and intuition. And people who believed that they were intuitive absolutely believed without a doubt that there was a connection. I even found an article called Depression May Interfere with Intuition. And to be honest, it's something I wondered myself over the past few months, but I'm starting to think that they're missing the mark. I don't think that depression interferes with our intuition, but I think our inability to trust our intuition contributes to depression. When I trust myself, the messages I'm receiving, and release the expectations, I really am a much happier person. There are more opportunities given to me that excite me, and even some that scare me, but none of them make me cringe. Especially not in the way I cringe when my alarm goes off telling me it's time to get up and go to work. And maybe in the next episode, I'll dive into a little bit differentiating between intuition, fear, and ego. Because for me personally, when my intuition fell on the back burner and I was so led by ego and fear, that was when my depression started to kick in. So if you're in a place right now where you're feeling stuck, you know you're meant for more, you're scared to fail, or scared to take a step in the wrong direction, or any direction for that matter, then this is my suggestion. Go grab a journal or a notebook, open to a fresh page, close your eyes, take a few deep, relaxing belly breaths, and start writing. Now, this could look different for everyone depending on how in tune you are with yourself. So go with what feels best and drop the expectation. You may need to start out by writing everything that's in your head first. Settle down the ego, keep the ego busy. Whether it's everything that's going on, everything you're afraid of, everything you think you quote unquote should do. They say that when you use the word should, that it's your ego coming forward. I think for a lot of that, they're right when they say that, but should is also part of my vocabulary. So I don't really know if it's fair to say that it is always coming from a place of ego when I say the word should. But let's pretend just for a second that should is always when the ego is speaking. Maybe you find it better to write down everything you should be doing. You should be applying for that promotion. You should be putting in more hours at work. It could be anything. And it could be one or two things. It could be pages and pages of things, because I sure as hell know that life takes over sometimes. And all of a sudden we have this to-do list. And not only do we have the to-do list, but we judge ourselves based on how much we've accomplished on that list or how long that list has gotten. I only got 2 things off my list today. And now all of a sudden we're judging ourselves because we ran out of time, or because we decided to take time out of our day to, I don't know, go for a walk, or our friend called us in tears and you took time out of your day to calm her down and have a conversation with her. Yet you're still going to judge yourself because you haven't gotten through the list of your shoulds. Just something to think about. I think I got a little off topic there. But anyway, you might be at a place where once you've grounded and centered yourself, you can ask yourself, or your angels and guides, depending on what stage you're at, what is the right next step for you? And trust what's coming in. Don't filter it. Don't judge it. Don't second guess it. Write it down. It could even feel like your imagination, and that's okay. That's usually the first sign that your intuition or angels and guides are stepping forward. And by the way, in case it wasn't clear, if you're writing down all your shoulds and trying to settle the ego down and writing down everything in your head, once you've gotten all that out of the way, then go ahead and ask, whether you're asking it to yourself or asking it out loud or directing it to a higher power of some sort. Go ahead and ask, what is the right next step for you? Or ask whatever question it is that's on your mind. Just preferably nothing that ends in a yes or no. The easy part is getting the information. The hard part, for me anyway, is acting on it. If you happen to have a tarot or oracle card deck handy, go ahead and pull 1 or 2 of those as well. It's important not to get frustrated, whether it's because you're not getting the messages that you want or you're not getting any messages at all. Sometimes we're given messages in other ways, like through feathers or songs on the radio or a random conversation with someone. And I know you know what I'm talking about when I say that. You know how you are sometimes debating something in your head and you have a conversation with someone who knows nothing about what is going on in your head or your current situation. Maybe someone you just met or someone who you used to work with and you haven't spoken to them in like a year and you just all of a sudden ran into them. And then that person just says one thing in the middle of conversation and it just like hits you hard, takes the breath right out of you, and you're just like, holy shit. You know, you've been on the receiving end, you know. But this all seems so easy, but if you're struggling, then chances are you're also spending a lot of time in your head. You're weighing out your options, you're thinking about the best and worst case scenarios, probably focusing a whole lot of energy on that worst case scenario. And potentially, you haven't spent a whole lot of time figuring out what it is you want. And by that I mean what you actually want, what you desire on a soul level, not what you've been trained to want or what others are expecting you to want. Because that is a whole other kind of conversation. So go ahead and give that exercise a try. Then head on over to the Spiritual Apprentice Facebook group. I'd love to know how your experience went and what messages came to you, regardless of whether they were immediate or you had to look a little harder for your answer. I'm also curious to know if you also think that intuition and depression are directly linked. So take some time to think about it, and then head on over to the Facebook group and let me know what you think. Thank you for joining me in today's episode, and I will see you guys next time. Have a great day.